that we do, we are political beings. Little wonder in pole science it is called we are political animals. But anyways, let's jump into the conversation for today. Just yesterday, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) in the 2023 elections, has accused some self-proclaimed northern stakeholders of meddling in the process of selecting and fielding candidates during presidential elections. Now, he also believes that this interference is undermining democracy and causing disunity among people, and that is leading to election of incompetent candidates. Omefe.
Right. It does not end there because absolutely, Kwankwaso said a lot yesterday. He went further to even emphasize that regional leaders should draw lessons, from past elections, and also refrain from influencing the candidate selection process. He cited the 2019 general elections, where the Northwest produced 7 candidates as an example of how stakeholders' actions, can lead to outcomes that do not exactly serve the people's interest. And also, before the conduct of the 2023 general elections, also, there were dissenting voices, right, speaking to who should represent a certain region, whether or not it should be zoned or not. So the question of whether or not we should put competence, over zoning or regional interest is one that we've not been able to reach a point of departure on.
Right.
And just recently, I think even the former vice president, during the Obasanjo administration, also a candidate under the PDP in the last general elections, talking about Atiku Abubakar, he also threw his weight behind, the idea of zoning. That way we strike a balance, right? But that did not really go down well with a number of people. And as a matter of fact, that bill sponsored by a lawmaker did not even receive, the warmest reception.
Right.
But again, these are some of the issues that we're going to be, bringing to the fore as we critically examine or look at the comments, very strong comments there made by Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who also happens to be a former governor of Kano State.
Of course, strong comments right there. And just as you mentioned rightfully, Omoife, dissenting voices here and there, we've had on this platform where family members have called into saying that certain views from certain persons seemingly representing the northern people are not the northern people's voices. I mean, I can put it out there. Al-Amin has been one who's been talking about this, saying, hey, no, especially this was in regards to the tax reform bills, where he said, how can one see something as intelligent as the tax reform bills, which is, a bill tagged the poor persons or poor Nigerians bill, a pro-poor bill. That's what it is saying. Pro-poor, right? How can one see such a bill and say that this bill is going to impoverish the North? Is targeted to bring the North to its knees and all of that. That these people who peddle these kinds of information or narrative do not speak for the northern people.
Well, I beg to differ because we've seen even state governors from the north. I mean, you look at Bauchi State Governor, even that of Borno State.
Even traditional rulers
too. Of course,
too.
They are very, very, heavy on their stand that these bills must be withdrawn, immediately. To give way for proper consultation.
So does this go back?
Are these people not speaking on behalf of the Northerners?
Well, could this be why the Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is expressing concern that these stakeholders often fabricate falsehoods, gather people and claim that certain candidates are endorsed by the region, when in reality the decision was made by just a few individuals? Well, he urged northern lawmakers to remain vigilant and protect the region's interest. He also referenced, historical grievances, including allegations of financial inducement of northern representatives during Nigeria's early, democratic years. Kwankwaso's accusations highlight some need for transparency and accountability in Nigeria's electoral process. He stressed that the region's leaders should prioritize the people's interest over their own selfish motives and ensuring that, competent candidates are elected to promote the region's development. Well, the senator did not specifically name names, right? He didn't mention names in his accusation. Some, notable, stakeholders who have been influential in Nigerian politics, especially within the northern region, might include the former heads of state, such as General, and of course the former president
right.
Muhammadu Buhari, right there. Looking at, General Ibrahim Babangida, the likes of Abdul Salam Abubakar, who have played significant roles in shaping Nigeria's political landscape. I mean, you might also want to consider the NEF, the Northern Elders Forum,
right.
and even the Arawa Consultative Forum. I mean, there are quite a number of them. Northern Governors Forum, the NGF, the traditional rulers, the influential politicians like Senator Ahmed Lawan, former Senate President, the current House of Reps leader, Tajuddin Abbas, Senator Alim Dume, of course, you know what happened in 2024 and all of that. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, that's right, the former vice president, who have also been key players in Nigerian politics. It is also noteworthy to put out there that, look, these individuals and groups may not be directly implicated in Kwankwaso's accusations. It is just essential to avoid speculation or assumptions. But the senator's statement is aimed, at highlighting the need for transparency and accountability in the electoral process rather than targeting specific individuals or groups. Now, it takes us to the topic where Kwankwaso is accusing northern stakeholders of undermining democracy. We have our guest who's going to be joining us in a short bit via phone call, and he's going to be telling us, some of his thoughts as regards Kwankwaso's, statement. I mean, Nigeria's electoral process has been marred by controversy and irregularities over time. Various stakeholders, including regional leaders, have, put their 2 cents out there, played a significant role in determining the outcome of elections. The northern region in particular has been a critical factor in Nigeria's electoral politics, with many presidential candidates seeking to win the support of northern stakeholders to bolster their chances of winning the elections. And just recently we saw, on the front page of Nigerian newspapers, how INEC denies destroying is it the uncollected PVCs right there. Well, we don't know how far that goes. At first, we saw a publication about the destruction of it, and now the INEC has come out as denying this. Well, who is our guest, today on the show?
All right, we have Dr. Ibrahim Baba Shatambaya.
Right.
He is a public policy expert, and he joins us live via telephone from Sokoto State this morning. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Hello, Doctor.
Are you there? Hello, good morning.
Okay, well, we'll get back with the doctor in a short bit. Doctor, can you hear us? Hello?
Hello?
Oh,
All
yes.
right. Good
All
morning
right.
to you, Dr. Shatambaya. Hello?
Hello?
Can you
Okay,
hear
I think
me?
it's a network, ish now.
All right,
We'll
we
have to
just,
call him back
yes.
and get with him in a short bit. But yeah, the conversation is trending on here. We're looking at or mirroring into Kwankwaso's statement where he had said accusing northern stakeholders of undermining, democracy. And the issue of northern stakeholders influencing the selection and fielding of candidates in Nigeria presidential elections is very complex and it's a very contentious one. I mean, to understand the background of the story, it is essential for us to consider historical context of Nigeria's electoral process and the role of regional stakeholders in shaping, the country's political landscape. But let's get back with our guest now. Hello and good morning, Doctor. Hello?
Dr. Ibrahim, are you there?
Okay. Well, we'll try to connect with him. We're still with you, Doctor. All right, we're still with you this morning. Right. Now, as much as we can, right, we are doing our best to ensuring that we have a safe, connect so that we can indeed engage the discussion this morning. But just to get progress, in the conversation, let's look at some of the questions that are very pertinent. I mean, the influence, of these stakeholders has often been criticized by being undemocratic and undermining the principles of free and fair elections. I mean, many are arguing that the interference of northern stakeholders in electoral processes has led to the selection of incompetent candidates who are more beholden to the interest of their regional patrons than to the needs and aspiration of the Nigerian, people. And that is the matter on ground this morning. And so some persons are beginning to ask, how can the influence of regional stakeholders in Nigeria electoral process be balanced with the need to ensuring free and fair elections? Right. How can that happen? I mean, let's take this conversation in contextual, basis. Senator Rabiu, right? Right. Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the presidential candidate of the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, in 2023 elections, accused some self-proclaimed northern stakeholders of meddling in the process of selection and fielding of candidates during the presidential election. Right? Now, let's take a case inside. Just imagine being a young Nigerian who is very passionate about, politics and want to make a difference in the country. However, you are discouraged. You are discouraged by the influence of regional stakeholders in the electoral process. Now, and this seems to favor those with connections and resources over those with talent and vision. Connection and resources and those with talent and vision. Now you wonder if it is possible to create a more level playing field where candidates are selected based on their merit and competence rather than their religious or regional affiliations. Right. So how can young Nigerians who are interested in politics navigate the complex and often undemocratic electoral process and make their voices heard?
Quite frankly, whilst it's okay for us to tinker with this, pending when we link up with Dr. Shatambaya, it's only, important for us to also register the fact that you see this regional influence we're talking about, especially when it comes to Nigeria's electoral process, is also obtainable, in other regions of the country. You talk about the southern part of the country, you talk about the middle belt, you talk about the west, and even the east. So the issues are actually hydra-headed. I mean, one would say they are everywhere. It's not just about the north. But the reason why we're talking about this or, having this conversation is because one from the north just came out, to make a very, very strong, very strong accusation. I mean, one would say that some northern stakeholders are trying, to undermine democracy by way of imposing, all right, and also influencing, whoever or who becomes a leader, whether at the national level or even at the state level. So somewhat you are imposing, who you want on the people, but in reality, you make it look like this is a reflection of, the
people, the masses,
yes, the
voice.
masses. But we're not made to understand that that is not the case. But at the end of the day, isn't that what defines, Nigeria, politics in Nigeria? But is that really what, is obtainable in other climes? Because in other climes will have states, will have different, political parties, and what have you. But here it's more of, like a do or die affair, a very dirty game, like some political analysts, have tagged it in the time past. But you said something about ensuring a level playing field.
That's right.
For all, to thrive.
Where candidates, can be selected based on their merit and competence rather than on their regional affiliations.
Right.
Well,
During the 2023 general election, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
we got a lawmaker who happens to be a nobody. All right, I think somewhere in Kaduna State, if I'm not mistaken, a nobody who actually rose. He never. The truth is, if you have a one-on-one with that person, he will tell you that, well, I never saw this coming. I tried my luck, and it actually scaled through for me.
Does
But
luck yeah.
beyond the regional, influence or interference, if you like, how many people are even willing, to take the bull by the horn? I really do not think it's the regional influence that discourages people from even wanting to, to shoot, their shots.
Okay.
I think at the party level, I mean, we've had this conversation before now. So how expensive, the tickets are or the forms are if you're actually vying for a position. And at the end of the day, you conduct party primaries after, paying so much to get a form, to vie for a position. So I think it's actually beyond the regional influence.
But then, all right, let's get with our doctor right now. Is it beyond the regional influence? Is it beyond the stakeholders who are trying to manipulate or trying to discern what should be in terms of the electoral processes of determining leaders within the northern region, according to Kwankwaso right there? Doctor, are you there? Okay. All right. We just hope that we can, I don't know, we are trying to get across to you this morning. Right. But let's see how far the conversation goes this morning, though. Doctor.
Hello, Dr. Shatambaya. Good morning to you.
Good morning. The line is breaking seriously.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
The network reception is really very poor this morning, but let's see how we can tinker with this regardless. With regards to the topic of discussion this morning, we've seen, the comments or statements, made by Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, right? And he said that some self-proclaimed northern stakeholders, they are meddling in the process of selection and fielding of candidates, during a presidential election, and by implication, trying to undermine, Nigeria's, democracy. But at the end of the day, when we talk about these northern stakeholders, although names were not mentioned, but what comes to mind at the sound of this?
Yes, you see, these are claims that are very, very realistic, and these are calls by it's not really a realistic one. It's realistic in the sense that you can't be guilty of something and you are accusing others of it. We have been following trends of politics in the north, and when you dim your searchlight on development in Kano, leading to the establishment of the government of Governor Abba of Kano State, and all the processes that actually led to his emergence as the flag bearer of the NMPP, and the back and forth that people who are associated with the Kwankwaso political movement is concerned, you will come to the conclusion that the same accusation that Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is trying to level against others, he is himself guilty of that particular allegation. He is one of the politicians in this part of the country.
Are you there? Dr. Shatambaya, are you there?
Okay. I think we can barely get through with you, Doctor, but we'll try our best, to get back with you this morning. Well, I mean, one of the very pertinent things that the doctor has said is that the same reasons or the same things that Kwankwaso is accusing, northern stakeholders of, he is also guilty of. And so talk about, pointing one finger and having the rest of the fingers, pointing back at you. But then again, if he is also guilty of it, some would want to laud him to saying that, well, he may have been guilty of it, but now he's coming out to talk about it. All these other stakeholders who have enjoyed the revenue from this guild, have not come outside to talk about it openly. So it starts with acknowledging that, look, there is a problem. And whether or not I am the problem, I'm talking about the problem. And the reason is because I want a solution for the northern region, for my people. And that's why I'm talking about it, right? And can we also be a bit critical about this from the point of view that, hey, if the hammer will fall on Kwankwaso himself, then it should. As long as the change comes, as long as the renewing of the minds comes, as long as the political soundness, comes, then there'll be no cause for alarm. I mean, there is no gain in saying that some of these can be seen from the economic factors, from the social factors, and all of that. I mean, if you look at it now, the influence of regional stakeholders, in the electoral process, has significant economic implications, as it can lead, to the selection of candidates who are more beholden to the interest of their regional patrons, right? Than to the needs and aspirations of Nigerian people. It can also result in policies that favor regional interest over national interest, leading to economic inequality and stability. Well, we're connected with our guest again. Hopefully this time we should be able to get through with him in this light. Can you hear us, Doctor? All right. Okay, so yes, the conversation is on, and one would want to look at this from a different, look, Doctor, and that will be from the place of the fact that, Kwankwaso coming out to, talk about this issue. Don't you think that is a step in the right direction, even if, according to you, he is guilty of the same thing?
Yes, the fact remains that this allegation is not only associated with politics in the north, it is a symptom of our democratic practice in the Fourth Republic. From 1999 to date, we have seen evolution of democracy and our democratic practice, particularly in relation to our recruitment processes, whereby few individuals have actually emerged across the various parts of this country, trying to play roles that actually dictate who becomes who as far as the selection process or the election process of various individuals into various positions of authority is concerned. But what we are saying is that for these politicians to actually come out and make such allegations, they should first and foremost cleanse themselves of that particular phenomenon. They should try as much as possible to ensure that they have actually cleaned their own board, to actually ensure that not only by way of speaking out, by way of practice, they begin to demonstrate that they are really serious about changing the trend of events in the north and in other parts of the country. It is only through practice that this ugly trend can actually be reversed, and we can begin to actually shape our democracy. We can begin to shape our political culture in a way that will reflect the wishes and aspirations of the people, in the hope that we'll be able to gradually entrench good governance in our political space.
All right, Dr. Shatambaya, let us assume, right, that the messenger would also get some sort of renewal of mind along the process while being heavy on this crusade. How much of a concern is it to you that there are numerous groups in the northern part of the country, and it's really very good that you already pointed out the fact that we also have this issue in other regions of the country. Too many groups claiming to represent the interest of a certain region. How much of a concern is it to you that there are too many groups as we speak representing the northern parts of the country?
Yes, you see, it's not about too many groups. I think the situation is that people are just looking for platforms to actually ventilate or use it as instruments to actually service their self-interest. Many of these groups that actually come forward to claim to actually present the interest of the group, of the North rather, are not doing so in the real sense of it, they are not doing so in the interest of the North. They are just using it as a platform to actually service their self-interest. And that has been the problem all along. People will always come out with bogus claims, trying to prove to the country or prove to the world that they represent a particular interest that is actually enduring. But at the bottom of it, when you look at the activities that they engage in, when you look at the collaborations and engagements that they and compromises that they engage in, is just to actually pave way for them to actually achieve their material self-interest. No more, no less. Otherwise, with the number of groups that we have in the North today and in other parts of the country, no part of this country is expected to be in a situation that it is at the moment when it comes to advancing causes of regions or sections of this country, as the case may be. Right. So my father's belief is that it's not about the number of groups, it's about the genuinity of the interest of these groups to actually represent people that they claim they are representing.
All right. Well, we'll just go on a recess now, pay some bills. We will come back and open the phone line so that we can hear from family members as well as get back with you, in the discourse. Please don't go away, Doctor. And yes, the conversation is still trending on here. Let's just go on a recess. We will be right back in a short bit. It is Eagles Outlook right here on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
My country people, who work suppose enjoy you after all the hustle. You not supposed take your comfort play to fit sleep the way you supposed be. Make you go grab a yo-yo Eurofoam mattress. Make you forget your full comfort. Whether na Euro Spring, Euro Orthopedic, or semi-orthopedic, Diamond and Diamond Plus. And for Comfort Pro Max, Eurofoam don't introduce latest in town. That na Euro Elite. This one, they sleep jolly meant no get equal. Eurofoam get quality pillows and sheetings. Eurofoam shop Yakpa everywhere for Bodo Nigeria. Eurofoam, sleep the way it's supposed.
Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja, here to stay.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area,
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me, you would have been nobody. But
Join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NATIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
You ready for this?
Keep this frequency clear.
We're live. I woke up with a Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
I suppose it was inevitable.
Eagles 102.3.
We're still X-raying the conversation right here, where a very strong, pertinent voice, Kwankwaso's voice, has been out there accusing northern stakeholders of undermining democracy within the region. And we have had our guest and still have him, via phone call, Dr. Ibrahim Baba Shatambaya. is a public policy expert, and we've been conversing, in this regard. Do you think personally that we have too many voices in the North representing seemingly the Northern people? I mean, we've got the NGF, we've got the NEF, we've got, ACF, quite a number of FF ending with Fs.
Amongst others.
I mean, amongst others, we've got even, stakeholders in terms of, personality stakeholders, the types of Atiku Abubakar, the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, and all of these. They've been very strong voices, seemingly speaking the hearts and the minds of the northern people. And could this be the powerful forces, so to speak, that allegedly are controlling the essence of what the electoral process should be like, according to, Kwankwaso right there? Do you think that there is a need for some sort of balancing where the federal government should balance the need to promote regional interest with the need to ensure that the country's electoral process is free and fair? Or do you think that it is mostly about how we can reform, the electoral process in Nigeria to prevent the influence of regional stakeholders and ensure the candidates are selected based on their merit and competence and not just because of any sort of connections or resourcefulness, so to speak? Well, the number is out there now, 0907-353-0044. The other number is 0908-766-8888. And the WhatsApp portal number, where you should send just your WhatsApp message only, no voice notes, it is 0909-705-4450. Do you live within the northern region? Are you of northern descent? And do you believe that all of these stakeholders indeed have channeled your voices, out there, have well represented your thoughts and your aspirations out there, to the federal government? Or do you feel somewhat cheated in terms of their thoughts and somewhat taken aback by their sentiments as to what they believe should be the voice for your region? You might as well want to put it out there, and let's have that conversation already. We're still with our guest, Dr. Ibrahim Baba Shatambaya right there, and let's get on with some more conversation with him. Doctor, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. What do you think at this point? I mean, certain questions have been put out there, and these questions are very pertinent. Do you think that, or what role do regional stakeholders play in Nigeria's electoral process, and how can they influence, or how can their influence be balanced with the need to ensure free and fair elections? I mean, that's one of the things that Kwankwaso had made mention of.
Yes, in the first place, the regional stakeholders that we have are not actually promoting the interests of the region. Like I said, they are promoting their selfish interests.
Okay.
And this explains why you have multiplicity in the number of these groups and in the number of these stakeholders. Otherwise, there ought to have been a unified platform that will actually, that all these various stakeholders will now melt into, such that they will be able to speak with a single voice, with a louder voice, and with a stronger voice. But on account of the fact that they hide under the guise of the region to actually flout different interests, different groups, and different platforms, you discover that at the end of the day, what they are actually after is advance their means to actually have access to positions of authority and to resources, with a view to actually enriching themselves and their small cycle. And this has been the problem all along. So the issue is about cleansing the elite of the North that actually parade themselves as stakeholders. It's about cleansing their interests, prioritizing the interests of their people, and this will actually bring all of them together, melting together under a single and general platform under which they will be able to actually advance causes that will improve the lives of the people of this particular area and the development prospects of this particular region. I sincerely believe that This is what we need at this moment, and this is what will actually drive the improvement that we aim to actually see in the political processes in this part of the country. You can't have individuals at different states in the north actually determining who held sway as far as the representation and holding leadership positions are concerned. Once you do that, automatically it scales into something else and not democracy. Okay. Democracy is about the generality of the people, majority of the people determining the trajectory of governance at various levels of government and at various levels of authority. But when you have few individuals actually manipulating the electoral process to actually ensure that they have specific individuals in specific positions such that they will be able to directly or indirectly influence happenings within government cycles at different levels, then it becomes very, very problematic for the people of that particular area, and therefore the elite in this particular in this part of the country have to actually come together and ensure that they cleanse themselves of this self-interest with a view to actually advancing causes that will better the lots of the people. But then I agree that certain reforms have to be made.
Right.
Drastic reforms have to be made, particularly as it relates to the issue of selection of candidates for different political parties. This system of giving people the leeway, giving political parties the leeway to actually choose the method of their primaries is very, very dangerous for our democracy, not only in the north, but in the entirety of the country. There should be this open ballot system that should be mainstream and made non-optional, such that members of the political party will actually come out and decide who they think should be the flag bearer of different political parties at vying for positions at different levels. And the issue of vote buying is equally another serious challenge that is undermining the prospect of our democracy and the opportunities of the people to actually determine who represent them at the end of the day. So we need to come out with measures that will actually tame the excesses of the elites who have had the opportunity of having access, unchecked access to our resources. They have amassed these resources and they intend to continually use these resources to buy their way into positions of authority through promise and direct.
All right.
All right, Dr. Shatambaya, I mean, you've been able to touch on a number of issues, right? Was trying to answer a single question, but whilst it's okay for us to, be heavy on competence, right, as opposed to regional interest, there have been calls for key elective positions to be zoned. That way, there is some sort of balance, right, across the country. That would perhaps put to rest the lamentation and concerns around, marginalization. But can the zoning of key elective positions with consideration, to competence really sanitize, the anomalies that have been recorded coming from these groups across the country?
Yes, it will go a long way in actually cementing the bond and unity between and among different sections of this country. We are at the stage whereby in this country today, every part of the country, every section, every region can boast of professionals in diverse areas of the state and the economy. So in this regard, the zoning will actually not harm our system, but it will rather give us the opportunity to be able to cement our relationship and to be able to actually fast-track our developmental process as long as we actually prioritize merit, as you said. It is not about just giving slots in a particular region and the region just doing whatever it wants to do with it. No, they should be given the regions that positions are going to should be made to actually push out individuals that have the capacity, that have the interest, and have the requisite skills, administrative skills to be able to actually add value to the political system and to the governance processes in the country. Once we are able to do that, it will go a long way in achieving multiple of goals for this particular country in terms of promoting unity, in terms of ensuring efficiency, and in terms of driving our march towards improving our developmental strides with a view to improving the general well-being of the people.
Right. Well, let's look at the place of, participation, especially youth participation now. It is one thing to say that the stakeholders are speaking, for a certain region, but it's another thing to also have the people, the able working, young people of that region to be participatory to the processes. Because there are expectations that Nigerians have. One of such would be the fact that we expect the government to create opportunities for youth participation in the electoral process, thereby promoting inclusivity and diversity. I mean, the implication is that when youth are empowered to participate in electoral processes, it ensures that their voices are heard and their interests are being represented. And that leads us to the question of how can young Nigerians who are interested in politics navigate the complex and often the undemocratic electoral process, and make their voices heard?
Yes, I think what do you need to actually become effective players in our democratic process, which they should be, is to actually strive to improve their skills. They should strive to actually acquire the requisite education that they need and to actually acquire the necessary skills to be able to distinguish themselves as critical players in the political process. You see, the situation we are having at the moment is that mass majority of the youth in this particular country are youths that are not functionally educated on account of the fact that access to institutions of learning is becoming more and more challenging and beyond what people from average families or modest families can actually achieve in this particular country. And this is the greatest challenge to youth participation in development, to youth participation in politics, to youth participation in governance. It is only through education that the youth can actually be put in the requisite state to be able to become functional as far as their participation in the political process is concerned. Now the focus is not about youth actually contesting. That is not what we need at this moment. What we need at this moment is for the youth to become effective players in various aspects of politics, ranging from registering to become party members, participating actively in all the party activities, participating in sensitization and enlightenment processes, and actually giving their views as far as the policies and decisions that are made by actors in the political positions are actually concerned. It is only when it is cemented that the objective of actually giving youth the opportunity to actually contest will now come into being. But for now, what we need is the youth to become active players. It is through that active participation that the need will actually become glaring for worthy individuals that represent the youth to be given the opportunity to actually come out and fight for various political positions at different levels of government. So this is actually the situation. The youth are supposed to be the anchor. They are supposed to be the epicenter of democratic practice in this particular country. And they cannot do that if they are ill-equipped. They cannot do that if they are not properly mobilized. They cannot do that if they are not well educated, if they are not functionally educated.
So you don't think...
Only under
Yeah.
this premise,
Yeah.
youth can actually assume and continue to play the role that they are expected to play in participatory democracy in this country.
And you don't think it's just about the youth within the northern region. You think it's a general youth participation, a challenge, right?
Yes, generally.
Generally,
There's
okay.
a challenge along the political stage. But then the situation is worse in the north. When you compare with the western part of the country, for example, in the western part of the country, education has become a normal phenomenon. People strive on account of the orientation that they have to actually ensure that they get educated. In the East, for example, what you have is that the youth there are focused on developing their skills, using their skills to actually make money. But in the North, you discover that in terms of the propensity for youth to actually acquire education, the propensity is very, very low. And this explains why out of children are very, very high in the North.
So what should be blamed?
Acquisition of skills and promoting of these skills for entrepreneurship purposes, that propensity is equally low in the north. And this explains why the northern part of this country is the worst hit in terms of youth participation in politics and governance is concerned.
So, Doctor, let me ask you, who then should be blamed? Can we trace this back to the workings of stakeholders, elitists in the north?
Yes, we could associate the problem to stakeholders as well as the government, as well as the decaying norms and values of the north, infiltration of other civilizations, and the perversion of the values that the north is actually known for. When you look at the history of this particular region, you discover that it is an abode of knowledge generation, particularly when the Sokoto Caliphate was held sway. Then you discover that the northern part of the country was an abode whereby knowledge generation and dissemination actually became a predominant occupation of the vast majority of the people of this particular region or this section of the country. But colonialism actually wreaked havoc on this system, and from that time onward, this quest to actually acquire education, be it the Islamic education that the North is known for, or the conventional education, has actually been affected negatively. And this tradition has carried on up until this moment. And this explains why the youth have not become strategic and effective players in the political process in this part of the country.
All right, Dr. Shatambaya, I mean, time is not our friend, but we've really not been able to look at the role of political parties in all of this, all right? Beyond pushing or apportioning the blame, on the stakeholders or the elites in the north, or, even other regions across the country, would you say that, because if you want to thrive, within the political space, it's really important for one to identify with, an umbrella by way of political party. But will it be intelligent to say that these political parties, they've actually done more harm than good in terms of, looking out for competence as opposed to this regional, consideration?
Okay, yes, you see, we really cannot say, yes, our political parties are not political parties in the real sense of the word political parties, because political parties are organizations that are expected to be ideologically driven. In Nigeria today, what we have is just assemblage or creation of organizations that serve as a front runner or as a platform through which access to resources, access to power, access to authority is actually consummated. So, and these political parties do not create themselves. They are created by elites, by the so-called stakeholders that we are talking about. Are we together? So when we talk about functionality of political parties, we are talking about more or less about these elites who actually make the rules, and the rules that actually guide the practice of these political parties. And we have established, when I was making my commentary about stakeholders in the north, that it is these stakeholders that actually define what the nature of political parties, the rules of the game, and the outcome that these political parties actually seek to achieve. So when you look at it critically, you will say you don't ideally have political parties within the Western democratic ideal that our democracy is built on. All we have is just associations that are not built on any philosophy, that are not built on any ideology, and this explains why our politicians have become marauders. They move from one emblem to the other. They wake up today in one political party, tomorrow they have changed to another political party where they feel they can actually pitch a tent for themselves. So generally, about the resolve of the elite to actually make our democracy work. And the starting point, I agree, would have to be about creating a political culture that will pave way for creating political parties that will be ideologically driven. Right. Political parties that actually stand for a particular blueprint and which will serve as the basis upon which government in this country will be run to actually liberate the people of this country from the challenges that scare them on the face.
All right, thank you so much, though. We appreciate your time with us, Dr. Ibrahim Baba Shatambaya. You are a public policy expert, and you've added your voice in no small measure, in the discourse today. We look forward to more conversations with you in the coming days.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, that's how we call it a close. I mean, there's quite a number of things that have been mentioned, this day, and especially with regards to the topical issue in discourse. In conclusion, of course, the influence of regional stakeholders in Nigeria. Nigeria's electoral process is a very significant challenge that must be addressed. I mean, the government must prioritize national interest over regional interest, promote transparency and accountability, and empower young Nigerians to participate in the electoral process, and not forgetting the fact that there is a need to hold accountable, some of these stakeholders, and bring them to the place of transparency so that everybody can be, carried along. It will be an all-encompassing, platform where everyone, has, the right to add their voices towards developmental, strides and strategy. Well, this is where we call it a close. Thank you so much for being a part of the discourse this morning. We've been experiencing a bit of, a line issue, so apologies for not being able to connect with you. We see how your calls are trying to come in. I mean, messages dropping now just at the end of the show, but apologies, we cannot go any further on this one. Tomorrow is yet another day, and we say have a lovely, lovely, lovely day today, and keep in mind that the power is in the people, and politics is what we address. My name is Udwak Daniel.
And I am Omoefe Peace Osemere. Good morning.
No AC? No problem. We're cooling you down with the freshest hits.
Eagles